bum ba-dum. Welcome, guys. I'm trying new creative ways to cover my head up because I hate my hair right now. Wait, hold up. Yeah. Yo, chat, welcome to the stream. What are we doing today? We're just vibing, I guess. No real shit to do today, so. Yeah, hold up, guys. Hold up, wait a minute. Yeah, it's funny how, like, I'm just chilling right now. I have no plans on doing anything, so we're just gonna chat, yo. We're gonna chat, see how things are. Lost in Wonderland. Sometimes I feel like this shit is one of the reasons why having a second monitor is very nice. Let's watch Nico.
You just gonna stay here when this is all done?
I can barely hear anything.
I want
geopolitically and see that there's an overarching theme and that it all goes back to eschatological beliefs. Correct?
Yes. So I would also make the point that, so I really got into geopolitics and eschatology because I read Professor Dugan's book, The Foundations of Geopolitics, which I highly recommend. I think it is the most important geopolitical book in our modern era. And the thing to national character, the soul of a nation, and that's why eschatology is so important because eschatology is just the expression of your national soul.
Okay. Do you have major disagreements? And, well, first off, how well do you know each other?
This is our first time.
Oh. Okay. So, can I ask you, Alexander Dugan, or if I'll just call you Professor Dugan, what is your analysis of Professor Jang's lectures, and what do you think he gets correct and incorrect with eschatology?
So, first of all, I have many Chinese friends in China, huge amount of
What was
friends.
that comment, bro?
And when I have spoken, when I was speaking to them, I have remarked that almost nobody knew anything about eschatology. So that Chinese culture is very particular in my opinion. It is very balanced. The Confucianists, the balance between male and female, between yin and yang. So that is the harmony that prevails. So it is not about time, not about history, not about final combat, final battle, but more than that, about how we need to make things to be very in peaceful way, in a harmony. And my very good friends in China, they always asked me, what is going on in the Middle East? What is about this Zionism? Why there is so important to have Greater Israel? Why it's so important to be dispensationalist in Protestant circles, in evangelicals? So, and as well, they didn't understand Russian catechonic idea, our eschatology. And after that, after having very good and friendful discussions with my Chinese friends, I have on, it seems that it was on your stream, Sniko. So I have remarked that unique Chinese man who has shown the very deep understanding of eschatology.
I'll be honest, the whole geopolitic things, the whole thing intrigues me in a way. Something that I like, the whole thing about war and politics, geopolitics in general, and like human behavior around it really intrigues me in a way. I like, it's like doing it. It feels like work every time I research that shit, or like listen to all those stuff. I feel a bit. How do I say this? A bit drained and exciting. It's like doing the things that you like to do. You know, it's draining a bit, but it's exciting in general because you're learning or stuff. But it also sometimes gave me a spike in my cortisol levels, so I'm trying to avoid. You know, you gotta stay hydrated. 177, hopefully soon, right? Yeah. I don't have my chat open because I don't feel like it. I don't feel like watching my viewers. I just feel like streaming. So, what should we watch? Should we continue?
Very interested, and I have watched many other videos about predictions, about game theory, about as well about Greek antiquity, because I have made also my classes dedicated to the classical tragedy,
Guys, it's
of
9/11.
ancient Greeks. So I was very astonished
9/11.
by the similarity of many points, many approaches, and the depth of the knowledge of Professor Jiang about the things that mostly Chinese scholars ignore or could not grasp. Maybe they lack, the majority lack this radical feeling of the end of something, of some irreversible, something linear, the linear time, irreversible fight between good and evil. It is everything. It is not to Chinese. So, but we are living in the world with China, cosmos, China, Chinese universe, and other universe, American universe, Islamic universe, Russian universe. So in order to understand better each other, we need to get deep in the respective traditions. Maybe these traditions could be close to us or far from us, but we should pay some efforts to understand better each other.
Absolutely. And well, I have a couple questions for you, Alexander. I wanted to figure out more about your belief system because I saw some people are reporting that you have esoteric traditions, or some are saying that you're Orthodox Christian. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what it is. So in your own words, what would you classify your belief system as? And before you answer, people are asking in the chat what eschatology is. Maybe Professor Jang could quickly describe it the best way, but I would just say end times philosophy.
Right. So eschatology comes from the Greek word eschaton, which means the end. So the word literally means the study of the end. And what eschatology often refers to is each religious tradition's understanding of the end point of history. Why are we here? Where are we going? Where do we come from? And the idea of eschatology is to figure out the point at which...
See, chat, I'm not interested in that shit. I don't care where we end. But, like, it's interesting to hear about, right? Even that's what
Obviously,
that's what I mean by I love geopolitics. Like, I like the whole concept of this geopolitics shit. I don't fucking care, if I'm being honest. Like, of course I care a bit, right? But it's just interesting to hear, right?
Yeah, so for most of my life, I'm atheist. In China is an atheist society. I didn't grow up with any atheist tradition, so I didn't grow up with any religious tradition. And quite honestly, I've had, I was very skeptical towards religion all my life, especially towards Christianity. But these past 2 years, because I've been deep in the study of eschatology, the Kabbalah, geopolitics, I'm starting to develop a more Gnostic framework, but I would not say that I have one religious.
Back in 2019 helped steer me in the direction of trying to find some sense of good, because there's so much evil. And obviously Alexander Dugin just spelled out how you speak about Sabbatai Zevi, which is not often mentioned. This is what pointed me in the direction to look into faith. But can I ask you specifically, Professor Dugin, so what would you classify your faith as?
So first of all, I'm Christian Orthodox. So I'm Orthodox Christian, and that defines in what I believe. That is my confession, that is my church, that is my religious doctrine, and everything I could say outside of the context. It is about
like
studies.
Walker.
It is not about recognition of my own faith. My own.
You guys seen what Walker said? Fuck with this guy. I fuck with him.
So in that sense, I'm believer, normal Christian
Setting up
Orthodox
multi-stream.
believer.
Let's learn
But
how
at
to
the
do
same
that.
time, I'm very interested by
how
different other spiritual tradition, and in that sense, philosophically, I'm traditionalist. What means to be traditionalist? So I'm following the spiritual philosophy of René Guénon, who converted into Islam. That is great French philosopher, and his disciples, for example, Julius Evola and the many other, Titus Burckhardt.
Properly. Once you've installed ATEM Multistream and you've opened OBS, we can go up to our docs and you'll see that we have this ATEM Multistream available. So let's go ahead.
Do we? Docs? We don't have that. We don't have that, chat.
ahead and open that, and we can go ahead and click and dock this anywhere we want. I'm just going to put it to the side for now. And before we add multiple outputs, we need to specify what our initial OBS stream is. So let's go ahead and go into our settings, and we'll go to stream. And I would highly recommend, if you stream to Twitch, that would be your built-in stream, because this is the only place where the specific Twitch features actually work, like your VOD stream or enhanced broadcasting. So we'll go ahead and select connect account, and I'll go ahead and sign in with my username and password. And now that I've logged in, I can enable enhanced broadcasting, add VOD tracks, or do whatever else I want to do here. And we'll just go ahead and apply that. And it's going to pull up some of this Twitch stuff, so I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of that. And now we can see in our ATEM multi-stream dock that Twitch is now our built-in stream, and we can start adding additional platforms. So we can go down to our settings toggle here, and then go to main canvas. Again, if you want vertical canvases, you will want to download the Stream Suite, which adds a vertical canvas, as well as the ability to add multiple other canvases. But we're just going to stick with the main canvas for now. So the first thing we can do is just add output, and it gives us some default platforms that we can go to, as well as the ability to go to other services, like if we wanted to stream to LinkedIn, for example. So let's go ahead and say YouTube is the other one we want to go to. Thankfully, ATEM Multi-Stream makes this very easy. We can actually just find our stream key by going directly to our YouTube creator dashboard. And in this dashboard, I just need to find our stream key here. And I'm just going to go ahead and copy it, go back into OBS, and then I can paste the stream key inside of here and then select Create Output. And that'll add YouTube as an additional output. And if we select OK, now we have two different places to stream to. And if we toggle this stream button, it'll automatically start streaming our stream here. Now, one important thing to note is, in order to stream to anything outside of your built-in stream, you have to start your built-in stream first. Now, this next bit is either an advantage or a drawback, depending on your system and network. But when you use this multi-streaming method, it is taking more resources from both your computer and your network. So make sure you test the settings to use what's best for your system. But we can customize these settings for—
Are you kidding me?
Don't tell me you're buying into this cockadoodle story.
I don't have premium chat.
Libertas, the Statue of Liberty goddess. Some people are saying that that's Malak flying in the sky, and that was also altered. My point is, when I announced this stream, speaking with Professor Jang and Alexander Dugin, to be perfectly honest, it went all over Twitter, and people were saying, Sneako is speaking to a CCP propagandist and a KGB propagandist. He's speaking to China and Russian spies. And they started saying, here they are to talk about how Western values are decaying. And I thought, okay, well, they're going to criticize this. They're going to say that there shouldn't be some sort of foreign influence. Well, our entire political lobby has been infiltrated by Zionists. Very clearly, everybody, it seems like, has dual allegiance to Israel, first off. So there's foreign influence everywhere. Second off, what exactly are Western American values? How could that be described? Alexander Dugin, you, I think, accurately described it. Happy with what they see. And if that is described by what we see in Euphoria, the new TV show, Sydney Sweeney dressed up like a baby, you know, doing this weird fetish thing, not to make it too disgusting early, but what we see everywhere that's promoted in the media and even from our politicians, the leader of the free world, the commander-in-chief of our military, depicting himself as what Christians believe to be God. What do you think are the main causes of the problems we see with American Western values right now? Maybe we could start with Professor Jang.
Right. So, I think the root of the problem is 1694, because that is when the Bank of England was first chartered. And the Bank of England, the idea was that it would take transnational capital and lend it to the nation state of England with Parliament as the guarantor, okay? So previously, if you were a king and you wanted to fight a war, you need to hire mercenaries. So you borrow money from merchants who lent you gold in order to finance the war. The problem with this is that the king may die, you may lose the war, or the king may renege on the contract. So there's high risk for merchants to work with kings. So the Bank of England solved this problem because now Dutch merchants could lend money to England and it would be guaranteed by Parliament, the nation state. And this was a revolution in European affairs, because now England basically had infinite financing. It could fight a war against someone like Napoleon and keep on fighting until Napoleon was finally defeated. So it took seven wars for Napoleon to be defeated by the British. And the British lost 6 of these wars. So that's the power of infinite financing created by the Bank of England. It basically created the British Empire.
I forgot this motherfucker.
How do you go about justifying to people?
Hey, is he?
Why are you a
Is he
citizen
really?
of England
Maybe a
borrowing
little
money
bit, right?
from these transnational capitalists, these merchants? And if you can't pay it back, your son, your children, your grandchildren have to pay it back. Basically, your entire society is indebted to these merchants from overseas who you don't know. To justify this, and this is when you have to begin of what we call modern British Enlightenment civilization. Okay, starting with John Locke and the certification of private property as the highest good. And so
Yeah, I might stream on Kick, y'all. I might.
And so these
Because I prefer.
philosophers together
platform.
create
I know
the
yesterday I said I don't
framework
want to, but
for Western civilization, and everything that comes afterwards is a byproduct
the whole
of
free
this
speech
philosophy.
thing
And
really like do well for me.
Professor Dugan
Right.
Elaborate if he wants.
So I agree
Second,
with
somebody's
this.
happened.
We could as well, we could continue that. Spencer, social Darwinism, continuation of this Anglo-Saxon liberalism, and Ayn Rand was already the kind of capitalist Satanism. So from Ayn Rand to Epstein.
Do I want to do a
only one
kickstart?
step. Because,
We'll see, chat.
if
We'll
you
see how it
have
is.
all the pleasure, the other, the poor will have all the pain. So you should be happy when the other are essentially unhappy. So that is Atlas Shrugged, precisely the main message of so-called objectivism. That is finalization of this capitalist logic. But I would start a little before with Calvinism, for example. And Calvinism, I think that was a very special, very non-Christian idea, affirming that there is not afterlife, that the judgment of
Login
God is
required.
realized already in this life, and to be rich, it is the sign of chooseness. So you are chosen, so you are rich, and you are poor, you are damned. So Orthodox rich in this world, you should be good, you should behave with love, with compassion, with empathy to the other people,
Yeah, but the
and you
problem
will
with
be
that shit,
judged
right?
after.
Not everyone is like that, right? Not everyone is a fucking nice person. In a perfect world, that shit would work, but like we can't. That's why capitalism is like, in my opinion, is like a good, system to have, because all of the how do I explain it in a way? It's more, it's easier, right? It's easier to do because everyone can get involved. And yes, capitalism is kind of rigged in a way, but that's why it's important to learn how to play the game. I control the uncontrollable. You can only control what you can control. Don't try to control the uncontrollable, right? What you can control is how you leverage. If you, for example, if you go into I'm ahead.
Of the capitalism.
This is what
And I think that Max Weber has shown that in his sociological framework, and Werner Zombert has developed that. So that is the huge tradition, not necessarily Marxist tradition, but conservative tradition to criticize
Two platforms,
these
YouTube and Kick.
Calvinist foundations of the modern Anglo-Saxon capitalism, liberalism, individualism. And that is the problem with United States, because when you are in United States and when you want sincerely from Church of England, from Anglican.
What is happening? I need a second
Church
monitor.
in order to create totally different kind of culture of society in the new world. So that is the problem. So for example, you personally or some other people, if you choose tradition of Islam, so you have the sacred roots. If you choose Catholicism, maybe affected by modernity, but not totally modern as Protestantism. And when you are evangelical or Mormon or dispensationalist, you are obliged to create something imaginary, something completely out of the real relations to the foundations of the ancient roots of Christianity, or you lack the sacred roots. So because the sacred roots of American civilization belong to the Europe, belong to the pre-colonization time, to Middle Ages, and it is very difficult to restore this link. You have mentioned, for example, Libertas statue, but that is Hecate, the great goddess of the hell of the ancient Greeks. Why she has a torch? Because she rules in the eternal night. You have not.
I smell food.
You have not any necessity to have the torch in hand in the daylight.
Yeah.
It is the goddess of the hell of the night.
Oh,
and that
my God.
was more or less the origins of American civilization. So it is a problem. So it is not easy to present day American conservatives who are very critical, and that is, we could understand it very well with modernity, with this Epstein class, with this usurpation of the democracy, of this false
Yeah, I need a
all
second
that.
monitor.
But when you
For
go
streaming,
on, when you
definitely,
try to
right?
get back
I feel like
to
that's
your
the game.
roots, to your
If I
sources,
don't,
welcome to the Calvinist heretic group
Get a
of the
better
founding
PC, fuck you.
fathers of some masonry, some radicalism
if I get the money,
of
I'll
the
do that.
sects, extremist sects. They were not Zionists. Christian Zionism started precisely in the time of radical enlightenment in Holland, among the Dutch, and after that that came to England.
I
It was
wonder, right, if
Puritans
motherfucker
and
don't see
radical
it, and like something like,
Protestants. After that,
I feel
this,
like if you write
Christian
down
Zionism
a thing,
emigrated to United States.
people
So
just
after that was the
they'll go more
Scofield
quiet
Bible,
there, right?
dispensationalism,
Like if I say, if I
Plymouth,
write down be quiet
Brethren,
instead of
and
saying
so
be
on.
quiet,
So
I
it
feel
is
like people would
not
be quiet.
traditional. It is a
Know what I
kind
mean?
of
I feel like they would
eschatological
do
heresy.
when people
And
when you
that
don't
is
say
the
shit,
problem,
when you
that's
just like
metaphysical
start
problem of American
doing.
people.
I feel like
So
that's the
when
thing
you
when you
try
write
to
things down.
get to the roots,
I don't know. I might be
your
stretching the
roots
whole
are
writing
rotten
things
from
down
the
thing,
very
but yeah.
beginning. So, and that demands to make some extravagant choices for you to join Catholicism, to join Islam, to join maybe Orthodox Church. So many. One of the most venerable representative of 20th century Orthodox sainthood is American, is Seraphim Rose. He was naturally born American with no tradition, and he has chosen Russian Christian Orthodox Church, and he became.
I'm gonna be honest,
almost a
motherfuckers who
saint. For
commenting.
us, that is the cult of him. We consider this American. 20th century
Kinda gay.
American modern man, we consider the archetype,
I'm gonna
the
be honest.
example of the sanctity of
That's kinda gay.
holiness
And that's
in our
nothing wrong with being
Christian
gay.
Orthodox Church. So, but that
Kinda.
as well is a kind of
Still.
limitation for American
gay.
choice. So you are obliged somehow to embrace something that could appear to be not too traditional for your society, or Hinduism, or Buddhism, or Islam. So, but when you start to become American traditionalist, you are either Mormon or Zionist or
It's on the way, Brian.
Calvinist, and everything that is really, really traditional, Islam, Orthodoxy, or Catholicism, becomes a kind of enemy. And now we see around President Trump precisely this fight against everything that still is traditional in United States. So, that is the problem. And I'm not absolutely malsaying. It is not about mock at American people, but that is strategy. And I think we feel the great contempt for American people because they became a kind of hostages of this historical, social, economical theology, or the hostages of this especially and very, very heretic, I would say, eschatology.
Right. That makes me understand your idea and how you can relate traditionalism to your theology, which you stated earlier. Well, so what's the solution? You also said that you think American tradition is rotten to the core. And I don't want to believe that. I love this country. I don't want to think that it's all doom and gloom. We got to provide.
Nothing
some
is all
hope.
doom and gloom.
But now learning more about what the evangelical
you
sect
gotta
of
you gotta
Protestantism-
understand the concept. I'm talking like I'm an expert, but that's what you're supposed to do on stream, right? The whole thing is just so messed up, right? Nothing is perfect. People are trying to find the perfect fucking thing, like liberalism, or the red pill, left, far, right, far, left, all this bullshit, right? It's all just, there's no in between. It's balance. It's balance, you know. Fucking, you can't. For example, I'm gonna take Buddhism for example. Buddhism and Christianity, two completely different religions, right? In some point, in the monks, let's just talk about the monks. Right? The monks believe if you have peace, if you're just at peace, you'll be fine. But here's the problem: how can you be at peace with everything? That doesn't make any fucking sense, right? You can try, but that just doesn't make any fucking sense. But on the other hand, radicalism, not the way. You know, you need to be chill. At the same time, you know what I mean? Short stream today, probably. Yeah. I'm not opening my chat. I don't want to open my chat because I just feel like, I don't know. Let me be. I feel like I should have a proper shit now, so I have more shit to do. What should I do? What is that? The fuck is that? Schofield Bible. Should I restart reading the Bible? I feel like I should. I mean, I should start reading the Quran first, right? That's what I should do. Every single Friday, Quran verse. Friday night or Friday? I feel like Friday night. Malam Jumaat. So Thursday night, and that.
Was the traditional enemy of Jewish people before Christ, and its image is applied to the Islamic world. So the fight against Russians and Muslims become in this Schofield Bible a kind of all Christians. So that is the total reduction of the Holy Scriptures
Yes,
by
this is a
small
Pence.
and not
This is
so
Pence
much
again.
known sect. But when this Schofield Bible was distributed among American population, this
No. Stream ending soon.
difference, what is
Well,
few
food is here,
people
guys.
could make.
Food is here, so that
If
means
you
We
people
got
could
to leave for a
distinguish
bit. I'll be back.
between
Don't
the
worry, chat. I'll be back.
authentic biblical text and this embedded so-called.
I'll be back, chat. Don't worry. I'll be back, chat. Food's here. Love y'all. Oh wait, should it be just this? I want it to be this. Alright, chat. I'll be back. I'll be back in a bit. No mukbang, obviously. I ain't doing that. I have to eat with my family, you know. Yeah. Holy. I have to eat with my family. So I'll be back, don't worry, alright?
Because Calvinism is still in America, but it's called like the gospel of wealth, as practiced by people like Paula White, who is the spiritual advisor to Donald Trump. Okay, so Calvinism is still very much alive and powerful in America. And if you look at Calvinism, the underlying emotions driving Calvinism are fear and anxiety. And this, and as Professor Dugan mentions, this goes against the traditional religious practice of other traditions, where the emphasis is on harmony, on balance, on happiness, on your relationship with God. And now Calvinism, because Calvinism, it's really about fear and anxiety. So another way of saying this is that the underlying emotions of America are fear and anxiety. And you can see that in American society today, where even though America is the wealthiest society ever in human history, an average middle-class American lives better than a Roman emperor. And yet America is still one of the most depressed societies in human history, one of the most medicated, and one of the most polarized. So if you really want to transform America, you have to go to at the root of what's causing this fear and anxiety, which is, as Professor Dugan points out, it is basically the Calvinist tradition. And so if America is to redeem itself, or America is to become stronger, then it needs to go back to Christianity and re-examine the basic principles by which America is built. But to answer your question, what is Gog and Magog? What seems from what's happening, and I think Professor Dugan would agree with me, is that Gog and Magog is being interpreted as Persia and Russia.
Okay, so they will inevitably fight in the near future, and sometimes you speculate that it's around 200 years. I mean, it's still undetermined, and we can't figure that out completely. So, is it safe to say, Professor Zhang, that Christian Zionism, or even on a broader scale, evangelical Christianity, is just a tool of Zionism?
Well, you could also make the argument that Zionism is a tool of Christian Zionists. So what I think happened was that these secret societies, Freemasons, were infiltrated by Kabbalists, so basically Serpentine Frankists. And then this created Christian Zionism, which then, in order to achieve its eschatology, created Zionism, so basically sponsored Theodore Herzl's book. So Theodore Herzl was not a well-known person. He was a journalist in Germany, but he had access to British royalty. And so I think that's actually the chain of events. You have the Serpentine Frankists, then you have the Freemasons, which then became infiltrated by the Frankists, which created Christian Zionism. And then Christian Zionism went on to conquer America, or the founding fathers were Freemasons and Kabbalists. And then eventually you have the creation of Zionism.
There was something really interesting I saw yesterday. I saw these Chinese children speaking to a Western journalist, and they were asking him, do Americans eat people? Because we heard that Epstein eats people in America. So it's funny that the stereotype for so long, you know, I'm half Filipino myself. We grew up hearing from Americans that Asians eat dogs, and now we're hearing Chinese children say Americans eat people. I'm wondering what the similarities are, what the ideas in China are about Zionism, but also what's the ideas about Zionism in Russia. I want to ask you, Alexander Dugin, it's very different, it seems like, from an American perspective. It seems like Russians have a separate relationship, and Putin is not as clear from what I understand. And it doesn't seem like the same problem. Also, you have different Bolshevik history. What's the Russian relationship with Zionism?
So, first of all, when we speak about Christian Zionism, Jewish Zionism, we need as well to mention so-called pseudo messiahs of Jewish history, starting from Bar Kokhba and the Sabbatai Tsevi, Yaakov Leiba Frank. And interesting that Christian Zionism, in the earliest stage, what was before Nelson Derby and Plymouth Brethren, but that was started with the so-called Fifth Monarchism, and that was idea that the traditional Rome is over, and there is the fifth global empire, and Oliver Cromwell was considered to be this global emperor by this fifth monarchist around him. And at the same time, Manasseh ben Israel, the Jewish rabbi in Dutch, he has said that that was not Anglo-Saxon global empire, but fifth monarchy will be Jewish, when the Jews of all the world will come to the Palestine and they will establish this global empire. That is precisely the first version of modern days Netanyahu, Ben Gvir, or Smotrich, Bezalel Smotrich, the Greater Israel. So that was planned in the same time in the 17th century, precisely in Amsterdam, around the Dutch Protestants, and from this circle, John Locke has taken many his inspiration. So everything is linked there. But I think that concerning Russian Orthodox Church has nothing comparable with Christian Zionism of Protestantism. We are